snaps it in half and uppercuts him 30 feet in the air. And then
it's such a good scene.
And then there's Jenny in the truck just reacting to all of it, going, ooh, oh man. And that's another instance of just taking all the wind out of Tom Cruise's sails. He just gets that thing rocked and gets uppercutted. And that's the humor I wanted more of in this movie. But that's my number 3, because I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, it's great. So my number 3 is Amanette's makeup.
Oh yeah.
Just straight up, I love the design, the double irises, everything about it. I think it looks really, really good. I think she actually has a very strong performance, despite what the Razzies say. Screw the Razzies. I think she did a great job in this. It's a physical role, and she's a very physical actor.
I mean, listen, I think people hated this movie before it came out.
100%. 100%.
I mean, all these articles, so I have a bunch of articles we can get to later on after our top 5, but people really wanted to hate this movie before it was released. This talks about the budget, Tom Cruise being in there, like he got an award for starring with Annabelle, is like he's too old for her, yada yada yada. This is a Tom Cruise movie. It's still fun. It's people just hated it, and I think Sofia's good. This is not a Razzie worthy performance.
Absolutely not. She's a good actress, and I've seen, I think, most of the film she's been in. I like her.
Climax, she's a badass in. I love that movie Climax. That movie's so badass. Kingsman, she's good. Hotel Artemis, I dig her. I like having her around.
Yeah. What's interesting, you've talked to me a lot about Climax, and I feel like that's one of the few occasions you and I disagree, because I am never going to watch Climax again, ever. I respect it, but it's such a cruel movie. It's so mean to its characters.
It's insanely mean. It's just, so I showed it to my students and they loved it, but they all got exhausted by it. But no, you're right. I mean, it's a straight up beat you on the head movie, and it's a little pointless too, if you think about it. It's just watching. What I like is, in the beginning, you have this incredibly organized, beautifully choreographed dance between these people who are perfectly in sync. And then it just all goes to hell in a handbasket. Oh my gosh. Oh, it goes so bad.
Let me rephrase that. I'll watch the first 40 minutes and then turn it off because that dance scene is gorgeous. That's the entire reason I went to see it in the theater. I remember sitting down and I got through that part, and then I was like, you know what? This is bad. This is like Hereditary, which is another movie that I'm just not able to watch again. Not because I don't dislike it, but because it gives me nightmares. It's a movie that's just in my head forever, but I'm never going to watch it again.
No, I get it. It's not something you just put on a Sunday afternoon wanting to relax. And you can't really recommend, it's hard to recommend Climax to people who aren't hardcore cinephiles, who don't know about Gaspar Noé, who don't know about Lars von Trier. You can't just throw a movie like Climax out there to people.
You can try.
Yeah.
Imagine going on a date night to that movie.
Oh, brother. Last date. First date, last date. Or it could be a first date marriage because you both loved it.
I hope, but I doubt it.
I mean, Megan and I watched Drag Me to Hell and Man on Wire on our second date, and she loved both of them, and we got married.
A double movie date?
Yeah.
I mean, that is impressive, Mark. Very impressive.
She knew, because we were friends for a while before we started dating, so she knew I was a movie nerd completely, so she accepted it. It was good. Wait, am I on number 2?
So I did number 3, so you're number 2.
All right, so I like this idea of the Mummy turning all the glass in London into sand. I know it's far-fetched. When I see it on screen, it makes sense to me. For me to really invest myself in a movie, you can go very, very, very silly. But if I can go, all right, I get it. I get it. I'm with it. Then I'm totally on board with the ride. So for me, I thought it was funny, the sand, that all the glass becomes sand. I dug it. I liked it. It's an interesting idea. So I'm going to put that number 2.
It's good. Okay. My number 2 is the airplane scene.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably the peak of the film for me. I love a good airplane scene. And what I also love is that they nicknamed the airplane the Vomit Comet. So that's another great little bit of trivia.
And they went up there. They would do it 6 times a day for 30 seconds and just float around to make it look great.
Yeah. That's the thing about Tom Cruise. He 100% commits.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I love about him as an actor. He commits. And there's very few actors who also do that. You know, I think of Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Jason Statham, when he does a stunt, he commits. Or when Jackie Chan, younger Jackie Chan, he commits. And Tom Cruise is an actor who commits.
I was listening to the commentary on the movie Spy that Jason Statham's in. I love that movie. And the stunt coordinator, J.J. Perry, fight choreographer, he said that Jason Statham is... So he's like... J.J. Perry worked with Gina Carano and Haywire, but she was an athlete beforehand. I know Statham was too, but he said Statham was one of the quickest men to ever pick up stunts he's ever met in his life. And this is a guy that's the biggest in the business. And he did all the stuff for Bloodshot too. And he said that Statham is unbelievable with his stunts. And that made me really happy.
Yeah, I can 100% see that. I mean, think about, what is it, the transporter? Or all those kicks?
Oh, yeah. Kicking the door down. That scene where he knocks the door, rings the doorbell, then kicks the door in. That movie, that got me in the seat. That's one of the best trailer moments I can think of right there.
It's
I
so
love
good.
that. All right, so my number one are the zombie Templar Knights.
Ooh.
Because, all right, I love Kingdom of Heaven. I love these weird Templars who went all over the world and just robbed the shit out of everything and killed a ton of people. And then turned them into skull zombie Templar Knights. I just love that idea, man. I think it's fun. I like the idea of that. That makes me happy. So
It's a good set piece.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in water, swimming, I just like zombies. I like Templar Knights. I like zombie knights. That makes me happy.
One of the things I kept thinking about when I saw the Templars was, what did they think when they found this dagger that clearly has magical powers? Were they like, oh no, our god's not real? Or were they like, oh no, what's happening?
I got a big question for you on that, because in this, I hope this isn't your number one. In this movie, there's an Easter egg. Is that your number one?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I didn't want to put that one in.
So they see the Book of the Dead from The Mummy, which, okay, so the world has had to have, the world has to know about that attack. I mean, I guess it was before the internet, so it could be hidden. I don't know. All right, so these Templars learn, welcome to a world of gods and monsters. There's gods, there's old gods, there's new gods, right? This is the American gods now, with all these gods, would you say?
Yeah, that's an interesting interpretation.
So these Templars, you're right. They're going, holy crap, this is, uh-oh. What? Well, so they're like, we're right, but we're also wrong because there's so many of them now.
Yeah. I was also confused at how they ended up in Mesopotamia. It's just very confusing how the dagger got into their hands, and I just sort of waved it away. I was like, you know what? I don't care how they got it. They got it. Ignore everything else. Because in reality, that means that the dagger would have been taken to Jerusalem, and they got it in Jerusalem. But whatever.
I gotta tell you, why do they keep doing intricate tombs for evil creatures? They build these massive structures, and it always... In this movie, they go, this is not a tomb, this is a prison. And then they just take the thing out. Why don't they just take a super evil creature, go into the sand on a secret mission, and bury it 30 feet under, I don't know, the sand, and just tie the living crap out of it? And, it just seems, you're asking for people to take this creature out when everything's so ornate. And it's built. There's gonna be a record of these things. They're gigantic. If that head hadn't have been there, if they just would have buried her deep into the earth, they never would have seen that thing.
Yeah. My tip, if you're going to get rid of a mummy today, in today's society, you put them into a barrel with some cement and you drop them into the middle of the ocean. You're done.
Exactly. Just put it in put it in the Mariana Trench. Hire James Cameron to take a submarine and to the bottom of the trench, and then wedge it in a little corner and hope a megalodon doesn't get it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I kind of had that same thought, but I dismissed it. I was like, whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's 100% true.
Because you and I, David, we're long-range reconnaissance jerks. We're thieves. So we basically get people killed because we're not doing our job. We could lead people into ambushes because we're disobeying. We see a gigantic head in the sand. We're going back for it. But if
100%.
But if we just see, there's a hole in the ground, we're not going to care too much about it. So, the one, if I had to hide evil beings, I would build massive structures that were insanely intricate, like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And I would have people dealing with that for millennia, but I would just bury the coffin a mile to the left.
That's so good. That's so good.
It's just people hunting it down, trying their best, dealing with, I don't know, dragons and giant snakes and hydras. And then over to the left, just that. I'd put like a McDonald's over it.
Would it be funny as you get there and there's like a fake note saying I already have it or something?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I would put about 40 of them do the poison thing from Indiana Jones. And I would make the super, like, when she grabs the wooden cup, I would be like, oh, they're going to go for that, so I'll poison it.
You just don't even put it there, but poison everything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Fooled you.
Fooled you, yeah. Okay.
So that's what I would do. That would be my plan.
All right, so my number one, Mark, this is one of my favorite parts of this entire film, obviously, is what I call the Nick Smackdown.
Oh.
He is just slapped, smacked, tossed, and beaten by Amanette constantly. I absolutely love it.
She chucks. So one of my biggest annoyances is when villains just throw people as opposed to snapping their necks or biting their throats in half. But this one makes sense because she doesn't want to kill him and she just throws him. And the falls are brutal. Some of the visual effects and his landings, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. And he just gets right back up and keeps calm cruising.
Yeah, and he just keeps. So okay, so once he became cursed, when he freed her from a obvious prison cell, he was cursed, and now he's basically he's unbreakable now. He's Bruce Willis. Like, we see him surviving that plane crash. He's completely naked, not a mark on him. So he's just immortal now.
That's a great question that I don't have the answer for, and I was searching online to come up with some concept. So in my headcanon, I think that he is significantly more durable than a regular human, but still killable. And I think that because her choice for an original host was killed at some point. So he's just very tough, but not immortal.
I think that's one of the more intriguing heroes, where what I would love, that's why I like David Dunn from Unbreakable, where you can't be stabbed, you can't be shot. Someone could put a grenade in your mouth, you're fine. Shoot you in the eye, you're good. Ant-Man could, they said Ant-Man go up Thanos' butt, and kill him, kill him. That could happen, you survive. That's a really weird thing to bring up, but that's an actual theory, David, so I'm talking about that. But you don't have any super strength. You're just a regular person, but you're indestructible. That to me seems like the coolest hero.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a little bit like Bloodshot, except I guess Bloodshot's stronger.
Oh man, I love that movie. Good.
But that's what I had in my head, but they never really explained it. They just said he survived the plane crash, and they never explained how. They said he's cursed, but what does that curse do? Does it give him extra powers? But since he survived the plane crash, it's clear that he has extra durability, is what I thought of.
I love that SmackDown too. It's fun because he really gets dropped, and it's another instance of him just getting whooped. I don't know, I like it. And can we talk about something real quick about? So the opening weekend this movie came out, it made $32 million domestically, which is a tiny amount. Let's get real, it's a tiny amount. I mean, Wolfman made more, The Mummy made more, not a big amount. But everybody started blaming Tom Cruise for it. Now, I know, like, Tom Cruise has said, I don't just make a movie, I give it everything I have, and I expect it from everyone also. And the art director, Frank Walsh, said, this is like a movie, this is very much a film of two halves, before Tom and after Tom. And he wrote, I've heard the stories about how he drives everything and pushes, but it was amazing to work with him. The guy is a great filmmaker and he knows his craft. He will walk onto a set and tell the director what to do, say that's not the right lens, ask about the sets, and as long as you don't fluff what you're saying to him, he's easy to work for. So this is what we've learned about Tom Cruise through the history of his films. This guy is a perfectionist, and that's why he's had the career. I do think that bringing on Alex Kurtzman, who has been writing forever, he wrote the Transformers movies, but this is his second movie to direct. And I think he had a young director, a lot of script changes. I know it became the Tom Cruise movie, but he also put everything into it. So I'm not going to blame Tom Cruise for this, because he does that on every movie he makes. So it just seemed like people had their guns out for him in 2017 for this particular thing, but I don't think it's his fault, because he's always been on set. I mean, Kurtzman admitted that there'd be on times where Tom would know more than he did, and Tom would take the reins on the stunts because he's done them all. So I don't know. Do you think that's fair from all these people saying that?
I don't, and that's actually a question I had to ask you, so I'm glad you brought it up. I think this is a Tom Cruise movie. If you have Tom